All right, Richard, welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Goodfellas, where we talk about the top quarterbacks for Week 7. But before we get started, I just want to review how we did for Week 6. So would you like to give us a quick update?
Absolutely. We got 21 of 23. And because Sam Darnold didn't play, he was our number 24 quarterback. Of the remaining 23, we got 21 right. Boom, boom, boom. That's pretty good. And then if we go further, if we take the top 16 quarterbacks from Week 6 and match it with our top 16, we got 12 right. 12 of the top 16 right. Boom, boom, boom. Good week for quarterbacks.
All right, good. Well, let's keep that streak going. All right, so let's get started for the top 24 quarterbacks for Week 7. The Fantasy Goodfellas.
Boom, boom, boom.
Rolling on the field.
The Fantasy Goodfellas.
At number 1, we have Russell Wilson, who will be at Arizona. Russell Wilson is just the number 1 quarterback in fantasy year to date. And we keep him at number 1 in our rankings. At number 2, we have Kyler Murray, home against Seattle. And year to date, on a per game basis, Kyler Murray is the number 5 quarterback in fantasy. And Ryan, what do you have to say about Kyler Murray?
All right, well, it seems like Kyle Murray is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, as year to date, Murray's number 4, and he has 1,487 yards. He's accounted for 16 touchdowns so far this season. I think he's a dynamic player. He can run, he can pass, and even for a short guy, he seems to be getting it done. So he's definitely a top 5 quarterback.
Then we have number 3, we have Aaron Rodgers at Houston. Aaron Rodgers had a tough week last week against that Tampa Bay defense, but we expect him to rebound big this week. And number 4, Patrick Mahomes at Denver. So as we said last week, we would expect Patrick Mahomes to move up. He is now year to date the number 3 quarterback in fantasy. But that team has found more balance. They seem to be running a lot more. Andy Reid's, he's adding that element to his offense. I mean, he always had balance, but they're definitely running a lot more than they did last year at this point. Number 5, we have Josh Allen at the New York Jets. Josh Allen's had 2 down weeks by his standards. He was doing very well. He is now the number 4 quarterback on a per game basis in fantasy. But we'll still leave him in our top 5. And hopefully, he's got a great matchup. And number 6, we have Deshaun Watson, home against Green Bay. Deshaun Watson's been playing very well. Ryan, did they finally cut him loose? Is he free?
His coach, Romeo Crennel, is definitely letting him loose, and he showed it this week. Although they lost the game, it was definitely one of his better games. I think probably the best game of the season. He had 335 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and he just played like he wanted it. I'm just not sold that he can continue it throughout the whole season. When you're a 1-4 or 1-5 team, you're not doing too well, and it's going to be hard to keep that team motivated. So although you got to start him, like I've been saying, I just don't know if he can sustain that for the rest of the season.
Hey, look, Watson is a dynamic talent, and because Houston's defense hasn't been playing very well, he's going to have to pass a lot, and it's going to bode well for fantasy. Yeah. So at number 7, we have Justin Herbert, who's home against Jacksonville. The rookie has played well, and he's got a great matchup. And number 8, Tom Brady at Las Vegas. We expect Tom Brady to do some damage here, and this would be a game that we would expect to be a shootout. But Tampa Bay's defense has been playing very well, and they just shut down Aaron Rodgers, so they might do the same to Derek Carr. And number 9, we have Drew Brees, who's home against Carolina. Drew Brees gets Michael Thomas back, so we expect his numbers to go up. And number 10, Matthew Stafford at Atlanta. Great matchup. Stafford has been, average, pretty average this season so far. But now he's got Kenny Golladay back. He's got a great matchup. We're putting him in our top 10. And number 11, Matt Ryan, home against Detroit. Matt Ryan finally had a decent game last week. Obviously, it helps to have Julio Jones back. And now that he's got his receivers healthy, Jones and Ridley, we like him. We like his chances this week. And number 12, we have Joe Burrow, who is home against Cleveland. Here's a good matchup for Joe Burrow, who's been playing well. So we'll put him at number 12. And number 13, we have Big Ben Roethlisberger at Tennessee. Tennessee, they've been good this year, but, Tannehill's been very good. But the defense has been allowing points. So we'll see. Big Ben, his team's also finding good balance. They've been using the run a lot. At number 14, we have Cam Newton, who's home against San Francisco. Cam had a kind of average game, and that offense looked dysfunctional this week against Denver and their loss. We'll see how they rebound against San Francisco. 15, Ryan Tannehill, home against Pittsburgh. Tannehill has been fantastic. Much better than I anticipated, but he's got a tough matchup, Pittsburgh defense. So we're keeping him at 15. Same thing goes for number 16, Derek Carr, who's home against Tampa Bay. Derek Carr's actually had a good season. He just has a tough matchup. And Ryan, is Derek Carr maybe the most underrated quarterback in the league?
Well, he's definitely underrated. I think it's probably from the history of his performance, right? So he's been getting better as the more years he has with John Gruden. Currently, on a per-game basis, Carr is ranked 10 in fantasy. He's on pace for 4,600 passing yards, 35 TDs. That's pretty good. Once again, though, it's Derek Carr, so he's going to have that up and down kind of season. He's going to look really good a lot of games, and he's going to have some, he's going to have some stinkers out there. So he's got a tough matchup going against that Tampa defense that's ranked 6th against the pass. Totally shut down Aaron Rodgers. I like where you got him. I'm curious. This is a matchup I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm excited about Henry Ruggs. I didn't put him in my top 30 this week, again, because of Tampa Bay. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. And number 17, we have Carson Wentz, who's home against the Giants. Good matchup. Wentz has been up and down. He you can see the effort, but does he have the talent to support that? And number 18, we have Gardner Minshew at LA Chargers. Jacksonville's not a very good team, but Minshew has been all right in fantasy, enough to keep him in the top 24.
This is a matchup I really like. I'm curious to see if you're going to have Gardner Minshew and you're going to start him. This is the game that you'd start him if you had a choice between two quarterbacks. That Los Angeles Chargers defense is ranked 28. And Gardner Minshew is pretty good. I think he can slice it up for some yards and some fantasy points.
Number 19, we have Jared Goff, who's home against Chicago. Tough matchup for Jared Goff. I like Jared Goff, as a serviceable fantasy quarterback. But tough matchup this week. At number 20, we have Andy Dalton at Washington. Good matchup, but Dalton looked bad against Arizona, but then again, those Elliott fumbles really put them behind the 8 ball early. So we'll see how he does with a new game against a lesser opponent. And number 21, Teddy Bridgewater at New Orleans. And number 22, we have Jimmy Garoppolo at New England. Garoppolo seems to be getting healthier. They said he wasn't healthy against the Dolphins. I don't know about that. I think he was just having a bad game. That Dolphin team is underrated. And number 23, Kyle Allen, home against Dallas. And Kyle Allen, he looks good. We haven't seen much of him yet, but he looks like, much better option than Haskins. And of course, Alex Smith, after 2 years, very rusty. Kyle Allen looks like the best quarterback there in Washington, and they look to be, competitive, especially in the NFC East. And at number 24, we have Baker Mayfield at Cincinnati. Like, we don't love Baker, but we like the matchup.
And, well, thanks for coming on here and sharing your top 24 QBs for week 7. We hope that everybody takes advantage of Richard's rankings. And Richard, I hope you have a good fantasy week.
Thank you.